Where do I get the motivation to self-teach? This is a question I've gotten in life before. Just where do I get this motivation or inspiration and kind of this knack for trying to teach myself as much as I possibly can and just learn as much as I can. Sorry if my voice is a little, like hoarse sounding. I'm getting sick, I think. My throat is shot. But that's not important right now. What's important is this video. Um, I've always kind of had just a insatiable hunger to learn whatever the topic may be. When I was younger, it was like the Vietnam War. That was my big thing. I bought so many books on it, watched so many movies and videos and documentaries on it. And as I got older, obviously, things changed. But I think, well, let me preface by saying also this was not translatable or this was not recognizable as a reflection of my grades in high school. I don't know why. Well, I do know. I've said it in videos why I did poorly in school. But I've always had this interest of learning outside of school, different topics. I wasn't totally sold on the subjects I was being taught. Although, like in history and biology and that, I've gotten into that. I'm not going to keep beating that dead horse. But I've always just had this hunger for knowledge. And I think a lot of it is I do not want to be susceptible to getting played in life. And I think the ultimate defense between getting taken advantage of or just the ultimate defense to misinformation and I just think being well educated, well read, is the best way to ensure you're going to lead a successful and healthy life, mentally healthy, I should say. People are so easily tricked into believing just the most absurd things. I'm a huge proponent of critical thinking. I think you should think critically about everybody and everything. I think even when your parents talk to you, you should think critically. That doesn't automatically mean you should disagree. You should think critically and then decide whether you agree or disagree. And I sincerely and wholeheartedly believe that when it comes to politics as well. We should all be critical thinkers. And I've always been kind of a punk, to be honest. So being well educated was kind of like a little tool I had to ensure that you're not going to pull one over on me. Now, I mean, we all fall for stupid shit growing up. And when love gets involved in that, you can get played out because your judgment can be pretty clouded. But I think having a good foundation of self-education and just overall a deep interest in deep thought and introspection, and that will ensure that you're going to be in the best possible position for success. I never wanted to be told something that was extremely incorrect, and I just blindly followed it and believed it because I didn't know any better. Now, this caused me a lot of problems. I did go to Catholic school from first grade to sixth grade because my mom, it was just the easiest. She worked at Catholic school. She was a teacher, so she didn't have to pay for me to go, and we were strapped for cash, so it just made sense for me to go with her to work. She didn't have to, worry about get me on the bus or nothing. So that being said, while I was there, I was extremely critical of what they were teaching me. And I've never really talked about religion on this channel, but I'm not the most religious person. I'm spiritual. I think if you just think deep, period, you have some sort of spiritual side to you. But I don't fully agree or believe in all of the religious texts and just religion, period. whatever religion that may be. But I was at a Catholic school, and it definitely got me in trouble because I would ask some questions that were pretty critical of what we were being taught. And obviously at a Catholic school, that's a no-no. So like in religion class, learning about the resurrection, he came from the dead, and I was just like, I could not go for that. That a man rose from the dead. I just didn't believe in it, and that got me in trouble. But I'd rather be in trouble for thinking critically than just blindly following something that just because I'm being told to follow it. And I think in an age where, AI is getting outrageously good, and just we're taking in so much information. Humans have not taken in this much information ever, unless we had an advanced civilization before this, which we want to talk about the Younger Dryas impacts. Let's talk about it, but that's for another video. But for today's video, we're just going to stay on course here. With this just overwhelming amount of information that we're taking in, I think it is more important than ever to be educated, because how are you going to sift through all this information and just try to decide what's bullshit if you're not educated? And I think that's where this big epidemic of just not robots, I don't even know how to put it. It's just like the blind kind of leading the blind, and we're all very surface level thinkers now. And I'm trying to get the deepest. My goal on this planet, my goal with the time I have on this planet, is to understand what all this is best as I can, as deeply as I can. I don't want to be on my deathbed and have no clue what's going on. And the more you learn, the more you begin to realize how you'll really never understand what's going on. But at least you have some semblance of what, all this is, or what your personal life is, what the world is, And I think there's such a rich beauty in intellectuals. Like, there's something to be said about, you guys know I'm reading Walden by Thoreau. There's something to be said while reading him. It's like you could close your eyes and almost imagine yourself sitting in his little cabin, and this is a man that wrote this. A man that is made of bones and flesh and blood, just like me. But there was something inside of here that he was able to tap into that I'm not capable of it, as much as I try to be. And I think that needs to be rewarded. I think that needs to be something that we praise. And it's just getting worse and worse as the time goes on, of people that just don't care about it. They would rather watch, they'd rather just watch I can't even articulate really how I feel. And that's what's the most frustrating. And I guess that's another reason why I'm trying to learn as much as I can. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to articulate this feeling that I get while I'm learning. I think it is one of the most fulfilling feelings you could feel. And I just think it's our duty to be as smart as we possibly can. And I like that, like Thoreau says in here, Thoreau does not agree with how much labor we're putting in. He thinks we should get back to, he's a naturalist. He thinks we should get back to nature because we're trading so much of our life and our time to gather money, to grow some money, to buy these luxuries, when he thinks we should trade some of that time, live modestly, and spend more time in self-discovery and spend more time in intellectual pursuits. And I couldn't agree more. Although I do like my luxuries, don't get me wrong. But I think we should create a culture that spends more time and energy in becoming smart, becoming as educated as we possibly can. I think that the culture should look at that like that's cool, like it's a new pair of Yeezys that just came out. I think we should celebrate boys and girls that aren't so hooked on Fortnite. Don't get me wrong, I was a huge gamer when I was younger. I loved Minecraft. I loved Grand Theft Auto. I loved Call of Duty. Um, but that also doesn't mean I can't learn from my mistakes. I wish if I could go back to my 10, 11, 12-year-old in those 3 years, 2 years there, from like 9 to 12, 10 to 12 in there, the time I spent on the game, I wish I can get back and, spend maybe half the time on the game and spend the other half doing a little bit more reading or, you know, self-education. Like I was saying, we should expend much more energy into celebrating um, boys and girls, the younger generation, celebrating them, showing an interest in reading, writing, um, anything that involves just putting a device down and sitting with this, using the thing attached to our neck here. That's kind of a quick synopsis of the reason I'm so motivated to learn here. I still gotta flesh that out and try to quantify it and articulate it a little bit better. It's kind of still mumbo jumbo up here. I haven't found the most elegant way to put it yet. So you guys know the drill. Thank you for watching. I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.